First of all, Ashwin sir, thank you for joining us on the Net Talk. It's a pleasure. I know we are trying to reach each other, and the last time also the interview was half done. So let's start today with a new energy. That would help us give a more perspective to this interview, because your interview is been awaited by a lot of people since I have told your story to a lot of people after reading it from LinkedIn. So I really wanted, for people to grasp this success story and utilize something from it to enhance their success in the coming life. All right. So, sir, for our viewers, if you could give a short introduction about yourself, that would be helpful, sir.
All right, sure. So, I would always start my introduction as I'm a engineer by education and a marketeer by choice, and that's how really start. I spent about 15 plus years in marketing, a couple of years in programming, I would say. Had the fortune to work across the spectrum of companies, all the way from a startup. In fact, started my own company, ran for a while, then worked for startups, worked for Fortune 500 companies. So I've seen the entire spectrum of things, right? Again, I also had the fortune of working across multiple geographies, all the way from the US to Southeast Asia. Right, it's been a decade plus experience in marketing, and all I can say, and I still think it's day zero or day one. I'm just getting started. I still believe so much more to do.
Okay, so something about your education and your job experiences.
Yeah, sure. I always wanted to become a doctor. I was so passionate about biology. I used to just read it once. Somehow those complex terms I still used to remember. And somehow I had that inherent liking. But unfortunately, even after securing a medical seat, I didn't took up medicine because of financial constraints. So took up engineering, then worked for about 5 years. Then I had the itching of starting something and exploring myself in the business world. So I did my MBA from Indian School of Business. Yeah, and worked for multiple companies, all the way from Juniper, my first company, where I worked as a programmer. Worked in various roles in Juniper. Then worked in Africa and India for a company called WeConnect. And finally now, after completing about 6+ years in Capillary, a high growth SaaS company, now I've moved to another SaaS company called Tact.ai. So that's where I am right now. I'm heading the growth marketing for them.
Yeah. So is this just a change of name in the title, like growth marketing or marketing? Is it growth marketing different from marketing or digital marketing?
Yeah. So fundamentally, growth marketing is really doing a set of experiments with the single-minded focus of growth. Right. So marketing has inherently, the definition of marketing is to create, build a brand and to create a demand for your product, right? Now I am exploring the demand side of it. I am using content, digital partnerships as 3 key levers to really drive growth. Growth in terms of, in a B2B context is really helping the sales guys with more and more leads and pipeline, which they can close. So hence growth marketing is more, I would say, more the analytical side of it, which is the second objective of marketing, is to build demand.
Okay. Now, are you taking care of end-to-end marketing at the company, or just this particular demand generation activity?
Sure. So I'm working with Kevin, who heads the marketing. So I essentially take care of growth, which is more around, so as I said, email, LinkedIn, all digital channels, then SEO, SEM, so some of that pieces, maybe events in the future, then so things like partnerships, which we are still exploring. So every element which would help us build demand, actually, right? Website, right? Website conversions, all of that. So entire funnel in terms of building leads, converting them into pipeline, working with sales team is really my responsibility.
Okay, that's great, sir. So you have been an engineer, then you have become a marketer. How was the journey between that?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great question. I think um, most of the folks end up becoming an engineer because uh, they don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Their parents and their entire ecosystem sort of forces them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there is no harm or there is no issue with that, right? That's still okay, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, same with me as well. So, I essentially took up engineering because, as I told you, even with a passion for medicine, I didn't get through. So, back then I didn't had a clarity that there are other fields in life, say marketing or let's say environmental sciences or any of that.
Yeah.
So took the safe haven of really becoming an engineer, and then so journey has been quite great, I would say. Again, I'll be very honest. So my first job when I joined, I was a really bad engineer. Every
Okay.
day was disastrous. Every meeting was, I was getting thrashed because uh, I tried to focus, I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote bad code.
Mm-hmm.
I screwed up things big time. Of course, then you'd end up getting thrashed, right? Because the team has a goal and you're not able to align with it. Uh,
Yeah.
so months, my days were getting bad and bad, and then uh, thankfully, parallelly, I started exploring a few other things outside work.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to meet a founder of
Mm-hmm.
a school named Kaliomane. Kaliomane in Kannada means a learning home.
Okay.
Uh, that gave me a new lease of life.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me so much freedom, and I helped them raise funds, helped them build the website, quite a few things. Then I realized the creative side of my life actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would advise everyone, I would suggest everyone, especially in the early days of life, especially when you're in college, do a few things. One, go and volunteer, for a school or for a cause you like.
Mm-hmm.
Start up something actually, right? Start up a web development firm, start up a consulting firm, start writing code actually if you're passionate about it.
Okay.
Try and do multiple things. It's okay you feel lost, right?
Yeah.
Explore your hobbies. If you are a poet, if you're really good, let's say photographer, try and do that, right? And I did the same. Uh, I did volunteer. I met a lot of founders
Mm-hmm.
in smaller groups. So there's this
Mm-hmm.
initiative called Bar Camp,
Mm-hmm.
where people just come and talk what they want. There's no set
Mm-hmm.
agenda.
Okay.
So I got ventured into my most active days were weekends, not weekdays.
Okay.
Right? And all the time during weekends, I was outside, meeting people, understanding,
Mm-hmm.
observing things. So that's where I realized after doing all of that, I slowly started realizing I am more inclined towards things which are more creative, things which are more uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I also started liking challenges actually. Let's say you throw
Okay.
a challenge at me saying, I want to raise 50,000, let's say a couple of lakhs for the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big challenge. So I
Okay.
like problem solving. So all this culminated into the marketing role, right? Which is creative, which is number driven, etc.
Okay.
Fortunately, I had an opportunity where I took up an opportunity within the same company I used to work.
Mm-hmm.
It was more a lateral moment within the same company. And then I would advise the same thing for everyone. If
Mm-hmm.
you like something, let's say a finance guy wants to do marketing, or let's say a programmer wants to get into account management, you should prove yourself, do a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
things in the same company, give it a shot there, because even if you fail, you can come back to the same role. And that's one of the safest options. So
Mm-hmm.
I did this. Then I would say it was never looking back. And my MBA sort of also helped me to really prove that I am a good marketer, right? I'm interested in marketing, and it just gave me another jump in my career, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the roles and the responsibilities.
Okay, that's great, sir. So you have also also excelled in digital marketing as well, right? So what is the difference between a traditional marketing and a digital marketing, and how you are managing both?
So traditionally, people, if you see how people used to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
There used to be, if you look at the first time when marketing was done,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or branding was done, It goes back to a few centuries where horses, so horses have the horseshoe, right? Horseshoe are something which get clamped in their legs.
In their feet.
To remember every horse, so people used to have a name for each horse as some sort of a code name and used to clamp it. That's where the branding started, the identity started. I can just fast forward a few centuries, right? We are in an era where people really they usually touch base, 5 to 6 channels before they buy something. Everything, right? Be it a B2C or a B2B segment, actually. I think traditional marketing things which I used to do were more events. Traditional marketing used to, just write some boring content and expect people to come and buy from you. Or, traditional marketing was all about, really building a very clunky website and again expecting, people to come to you. And traditional marketing was all about selling boxes, right? Let's say a Dell or let's say HP who used to sell servers, actually. It was more about selling the product and just don't care a damn, what happens after you sell the product. I think fast forward now, and I am taking a very holistic approach on how the whole marketing or the whole game has shifted, actually. So from a boring content, things have now become more engaging, right? Everyone writes content now. So people who are going to win is people who are going to write very unique, interesting, most importantly, relevant content for the audience. So that's number one, right? That's how it has shifted from a boring content to a storytelling approach. For example, Apple launched this whole, very, very funny take on how our lives have transformed after we started working from home. So they launched this video yesterday. It's already garnered close to like 15, I think more than 10 million views. Phenomenal storytelling, right? Where they also have, Internship, iPad, iWatch, every other product what they have, actually. So that's number one. So storytelling is really the really trend of the era, actually. So second is about channel, right? So I spoke about we used to do events, we used to do cold calling. Now people spend time across digital, offline references. I can go on and on. I think the whole idea of any brand is to be everywhere and really understand how people buy. Let's say, for example, let's say you are a shaving brand. So you got to start talking about how men can actually groom themselves. Because you're in a grooming category. You're not just about shaving, but you're also talking about grooming, actually. So build some interesting videos about grooming, and interestingly, take the context, actually. For example, people can't go to a barber shop now. Do some funny videos about how can you groom yourself in home, and people share about it. People share it because everyone is looking for simple ways to either cut their hair or shave their beard, etc. Just for an example, right? So being very, very contextual is also super important, actually. And I think the third thing is about I spoke about selling a product versus experience, actually. Now that even if you sell a razor, it's not just a product, actually. Right from the point somebody is researching your product till they not just become a customer, buy from you, even post purchase, right? It's important, actually. Even though let's say they buy a razor from you once, they might buy the razor again after a few months or after a few years. So you got to retain them, right? And it's extremely important how you build a community around it. How you ensure you deliver a great experience so that they will refer you, actually. So it's not just a transaction you're making. You are as a marketing, as a company, you're trying to define an experience, actually. I think that's all the third thing I can say. Yeah, I'll just stop here and then I know maybe if you have any specific question around this, I can take it.
No, so please continue.
What else? I think that's the third thing. So fourth thing is about channels, right? So people used to be stuck around a few channels. Now it's an integrated experience, actually. And most importantly, the people are more risk averse now. So what it means is I'm absolutely okay to go and buy, let's say, a new razor from a new brand. I'm in fact looking for one. I'm bored of Gillette actually. I'm looking for a new brand who can, give me a differentiated experience. So what it means is the habits of consumers has changed actually. People used to go and buy only the largest brands. People are okay to try and experiment a new brand now. But a brand which is very, very innovative, who keeps the customer in the center actually. I think that's the fourth and the most important thing I can talk, both from a B2B and a B2C angle, where people buy fast. People used to take a lot of time. Let's say, even a B2B software, they used to take months and months, multiple RFPs, multiple conversations. And that buying cycle is getting shrunken actually, right? Because people have the information at disposal. They can do the research. They can go to a review site and figure out which is the best software. And most importantly, they can, everything is out there, right? If a company is a fraud, it's up there, people write reviews, people write articles about it. So what it really means is, for companies, you got to be everywhere, to be very specific, be at the right point when your customers are either searching or looking for something, right? And it all starts from there. All the way till post-purchase, I think brands has to really, really focus on building a great experience, be it a B2B or a B2C brand. It's not just about marketing, getting people onto a website, but you got to build a great experience, ensure the sales folks talk the same language, the transition from sales to customer success happens seamlessly. Customer success also delivers. They also cares for customers always, actually. Yeah, and that's about it. I think these are the four things I think which has changed.
Okay, so basically, to put it in a short term, people earlier used to just sell, market it, but now after selling, there is a after sales service, review, reports, client retention, and then upselling, cross selling. Everything is done using digital medium channels, building a community on social media networks as well, right?
Absolutely. So people have a lot more opportunity to spend more energies on existing customers. And also balance that with acquiring new customers.
So is content the
then
king?
Content always be the king. While it's overrated, but I think we have to take it with a pinch of salt, right? So it's not about the volume of content you write, but you got to be edgy, you got to be out of the box. Most importantly, you got to be relevant. Just that Apple example is truly simple. It's not out of the box. It's very, very simple, very relevant. It talks about a dad, who struggles to talk on a phone, talk on a video call when kids are screaming, and that's the new normal, right? That's what everyone is going through. Every parent is going through. They just bought that, added a funny element to it, and they're home actually, and that's what it is. I think content has to be simple. It has to be relevant, right? It has to be for today. It's not about writing something which is relevant for 3 months back, actually. So what it means is brands has to move very, very fast. Let's say they figure out an insight. There are 100 other brands out there who are trying to create a content. Let's say video or a guide or whatsoever, right? And you got to be the first, and then second is also distributed, right? So that's where I think the timing really matters.
Okay, that's great, sir. And so, what are the different type of contents methods do you use?
You can look at it in different ways. Again, I will tell you more from a B2B point of view. So again, you got to always put customer in the center, right? So look at how customers buy. I will just tear it down into just two stages. So one is a stage where they have to be educated, right? That's really in the top. And second is a stage where they actually buy. And there are multiple stages people talk. There are 3, 4, 5 stages. I just simplify it into 2 actually. So education is a phase is where you have to be present. So what it means is, for example, for us, we build the next generation CRM, CRM product actually for large enterprises. So for us to be discoverable, so we are planning to, or we already built content around best practices on CRM, how to increase CRM adoption, so some of that, right? So I think in the education phase, people have to spend a lot of time in really understanding what are the challenges for the buyers. Again, for example, of the same razor, people don't know. People like me, the general public, don't know how to really use a razor actually, right? How to use it's a trimmer. I end up finishing with the same style. So I think that's where you can do a lot of education, right? The razor company can, really make some simple, funny videos around. Take an example of a average individual like me, who doesn't care too much about grooming, but they end up becoming a specialist actually. And that whole journey can be depicted mostly in the form of videos, because videos are very engaging. It's a great visual medium, and people have time now. So one, in terms of the journey, education is a stage where brands can really invest a lot of time. And second is the form of content, right? Whether it's a video, whether it's a blog or a guide or an email or a LinkedIn post. Increasingly, it's becoming very difficult to get people's attention on a text email or on a long blog post. People still read. I'm not saying they don't. This is one breed of people who are in the education phase, who are willing to read long form content, 2,000, 3,000 words.
Okay.
But however, it has to be absolutely world class in terms of, doing the right research and, putting everything in the nice way. I still bookmark a lot of these long form posts, which has a lot of depth actually. So that's another form which people can really, especially B2B brands, can really lean on to. Not writing, very short form content, which is shallow in nature, but really spend a lot of time in doing research, have, primary research done, have surveys done, so that you have a very unique piece of content.
Okay, that's great, sir. So, what about the role play of social media in B2B market?
Sure. So, that's a great question, because social media still, I would say, at least a couple of years back, it was largely embraced by B2C marketers. B2B marketers were saying, "Hey, okay, I will set up my 3 accounts: one in LinkedIn, one in Facebook, and one in Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'll just keep posting." Actually, right? That was all it actually. And then again, I've seen this journey, and then 2 years back, we started some LinkedIn campaigns back in Capillary. The traction used to be quite less. I think the last year, it picked up really, really well in 2019. I think now is a time where literally every brand is investing in social actually. And it depends, right? It depends on the audience. Let's say your audience is present a lot more on LinkedIn, then it's a great channel. And so one of the biggest learnings for me is LinkedIn is not a great channel for generating leads. It's a great channel for branding. It's a great channel where you can build that trust, build that education, right? Whoever is in the education phase, you can post out a lot of content, good content, where people can come and click on it, and they can go to the website and read. But people are not there to buy, right? They're just there to get themselves educated, right? So people are looking for jobs, or either people are there to read content. So you got to understand that you can't expect LinkedIn to give you like whole bunch of leads, over a period of time. But you got to nurture them. Somebody come and read your blog post. You take them through a journey where they might eventually convert actually. So that's one of the learnings. So second learning is social media is not just about these 3 channels, right? There are multiple other channels. Like, if you are focused on a product which is built for engineers, there are forums like Stack Overflow, there are platforms like GitHub where people can go and host their code, their modules or code they've written. I think look for more channels like Stack Overflow, let's say for engineers, and there are other communities, based on the niche actually, based on the audience. So you got to move away not just from these three channels, but other channels as well.
Okay, that's great, sir. So, how are community going to play a role in the growth of a company? Like we see various social media communities on social media platforms for HRs, by job title, by industry wise, by skill wise. So are they going to play a very dominant role over the coming time?
Sure. So if I understand your question correctly, is it about the role of the community?
That's right.
Okay.
Social media
Sure.
communities of various groups.
Sure, absolutely. I think community, as I said, is I think one of the key pillars for success now. So one is the experience, which is a overall end-to-end experience. Second is the community, I would say. Even for a B2B brand, so just imagine the rest, right? So there's one part of the community is your employees actually. So let's say we have a couple of 100 employees. Ensure your employees talk about you, either it is sharing it, engaging with your own page, let's say on LinkedIn. So that's the first part of the community. The second part of the community is the outer circle, which is your customers actually, right? And encourage them to really again participate. Where you can invite them for a talk like this, let's say webinar, or you can write a joint blog post on how you are helping them or how they are getting benefited from you,
That's
or
right,
other way around, right?
That's right.
So customers are the second leg of community where especially you are a mass SMB product, something like a HubSpot. Their community is massive actually. They incentivize people to let's say somebody is looking for a challenge. Let's say somebody has an issue in how to configure a specific feature. Somebody from the community goes and writes, hey, this is how it to be done, and I have done it already, and this is my learning. I think customers is the second leg of the community. Third leg is your partners actually. Your partners or your developers, for example. I think encourage them to go and write. Let's say you have an online community, and start answering questions of your users actually. Okay. And eventually it becomes a virtuous cycle. What it means is people who contribute are more willing to they have the more affinity to talk positive about your brand. Because the more and more time they spend time on your community, they actually feel part of one family actually, and that holding factor is really your brand.
That's great, sir.
And finally, there is this outer circle, which is the consumers of the community, who will possibly just go and read content, right? Or who possibly just like some of the posts, or let's say you take the community offline, and then let's say you do events. Especially there are developer events. Folks like Microsoft who do developer events where that's also community, right? The developers who not necessarily contribute, they just come and attend a few sessions. The interesting part is a lot of the folks come back after a few years, from being an audience to become a speaker, to write blogs on their community. I think that's how you got to see employees, customers, partners, and finally your audience.
Okay, that's great, sir. So, out of the various trades in digital marketing, if a beginner is looking to start, what should he start with? Either content writing, social media, SEO, UI UX, various development videos. Where do they start from if they really want to do it? Because not everybody can be masters of all.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it right. Now digital is such a vast channel. It's very hard to become a master, right?
Yeah.
You can be possibly a jack of all. You can possibly become master of some, not really all, because it's getting, let's say, becoming a kick-ass SEO specialist is very hard. It will take you, there's this saying, right? There's one guy who said, if you really want to become master of something, you ought to spend 10,000 hours on it. So I would really suggest, see, in digital, there are various facets actually. One is communication side of it, which is the content. I would say communication because communication is a much larger term. Second is the channel, right? Understanding the channel, being a lot more analytical, being a lot more number driven actually. So this is the two side, and the third side is really the design side of it, right? Which you can possibly put under the communication bucket. But okay, for the discussion's sake, let's just take the first two, communication and channel proficiency. It depends, right? Let's say you're a creative person, have a flair for writing, have a flair for branding. I would suggest people to pick the first. Understand how people tell stories on different channels, right? For example, on Twitter, I'll give you a simple example. So Twitter, as a brand, right, they themselves posted a tweet which said, I think a lot of the people were looking for a future. I think editing the tweet, because the moment you tweet, you can't edit it.
Yeah.
I think what they said was very interesting. The day when everyone in the world wears mask, we will be releasing this feature. What an amazing tweet, right?
That's
so
right.
Everyone is looking for something, and they're actually tying that back to a socially conscious matter, which is wearing mask. And and then that tweet I think got one of the most liked tweets actually.
Achha.
This requires a lot of thinking in terms of marrying the context and your storytelling ability. So if you have that flair, I think you should choose the first path. Second path are, let's say, becoming very good SEO person or a LinkedIn channel specialist. Takes a lot of number crunching, problem solving, right? Because there's a lot of competition up there. Channels have changed drastically and they're changing very fast. So you got to really do a bunch of experiments, put in few dollars. Let's say if you're doing paid, then really, understand, let's say, you take LinkedIn as a channel. You would understand how a campaign is set up, how an ad is set up, what type of ad works, how your consumer journey should look like, and start making experiments actually. The most successful people in digital are not just specialists, but are the ones who are ready to experiment and constantly iterate actually. Because nobody has a formula for success, right? So nobody knows how Google search engine works. All we can do is do experiments, read from experts, and then try to implement it and tweak it based on your brand. It's not just following blindly. If somebody is saying something, for example, somebody says, okay, write 500 word posts, 10 posts a week. It would have worked for them. It would possibly a disaster for you. So you got to take that advice, implement it for your brand, and then keep experimenting and keep learning. And that's the second one, right? Who loves numbers, who loves to experiment and tweak and learning. I think they should take the second one. Pick up one channel and then go deeper there.
Okay, that's great, sir. Now the important questions are like, what do you think about the future of digital marketing?
So I think the future certainly belongs to any brand who wants to become successful. It belongs to folks who are great storytellers. Second, somebody who embraces hyper personalized approach. Right? You got to really drill down your audience. It's not just about demographics and all of that, right? It's also about building personas who are saying, okay, there's a set of people who actually like ABC actually. I think second insight is really around it is going to be more and more hyper personalized, what they call as N-1 marketing, right? Where let's say for Sachin the ad would look something different, and for Ashwin the ad would look completely different actually.
Yeah.
And in fact, Flipkart did this I think a few months back, where they said for their big billion dollar day sale, I think they ran couple of million versions of their ads based on the personas they built. I think that's the future. You have to be N-1, building personalization, which is N-1, right? That's really about understanding what your purchase behavior in the past looked like, what is your consumption pattern look like, and then be very specific on it. That's the second insight. And the third prediction for me would be it would be more and more, I would say, omni-channel. So what I mean is you got to be there everywhere, actually. For example, I'll give you a simple example. I used to go to DMart, the grocery chain, right? I wanted to raise a complaint. God forbid, they don't even have a Twitter handle, actually. That one thing actually, in a way has, really created a negative impact about the brand. So what it means is you got to be everywhere, actually, wherever the consumers are. And in the future of, digital is, you got to be there on, let's say, even if you're a B2C brand, you got to be there on LinkedIn or, let's say community, like you get like community like Stack Overflow, for a developer platform, actually. And all has to be linked, actually. Again, for example, I'll give you an example where Hotstar very recently launched some 7-8 movies which they're going to release in the next few months. They ran a big campaign in Twitter. All right, I go to the website. I don't even have a clue, and there is no relation between what they used to run on Twitter and what is there on the website. And I'm already a subscriber of Hotstar. They were at least told me after signed in, hey, these are the release dates for these movies. So I got a sense saying, okay, these 6-7 movies are getting released. What I'm really looking for is when are these movies getting released? And I really had a bad experience. I even posted them saying, boss, I'm a customer of you. I go to your website and there is no damn information about those 6 movies. Experience is broken, right? You're spending so much dollars on Twitter, but what about the website actually? I think, omni-channel marketing, people have spoken enough about it. Even some of the largest brands are still yet to get the basics of it. So I would still believe, great storytelling across channels in a consistent way is really going to be one of the key things which brands has to embrace.
Okay, that's great, sir. So, are you currently looking to hire in your team for marketing?
We are a small team. We are definitely want to hire. Just that we are being very cognizant about the times we're going through. Hopefully, in the next quarter or two, we should have some openings. And we're also exploring the option of hiring interns, so that after let's say a good intern really shows their worth. And I really had some great experience working with smart interns actually. And hopefully we would get a go ahead for that. And that is one of the ways we're looking at, converting these interns into possibly full-time employees after a quarter or two.
Okay. Now, these interns, what type of interns? What type of internship are you going to provide?
Again, I'll be very specific about the role I'm looking for. So I'm looking for a digital operations intern who is ready to roll his or her sleeves and really get into the operational side of it. It'd be a great experience, right? Like setting up a campaign on LinkedIn or running an email campaign or setting up something on Google AdWords. He or she will get all the assistance from me and from the team, and they will have a great experience in understanding the channel very, very fast because there are people to help you out. You will execute it initially, and you also have the freedom to give your thoughts or give your ideas. Actually, we're looking for someone who are great problem solvers, and most importantly, they have to be coachable. Actually, they should be ready to learn.
Achha, that's great, sir. That's great. So, any message to people who have lost their job during COVID-19? There's a lot of despair among people. Unrest because they have lost jobs or they are not getting jobs. People's salary has been deducted. Some people are forced to quit their jobs as well because that's really not motivating them. That's one way to look at it as well. So, any particular message what they should do during this time, especially for marketers, what they can do during this time, and how to get back to job or how to search for freelance projects.
Sure, I think that's definitely a question which needs to be answered. That's really the most important thing, actually. It's a little backstory, right? So my first job before joining Juniper, I joined the startup. I said no to some of the large offers which I had in hand because I wanted to start my journey with the startup. 11 months into my first job, I was laid off. My general manager comes in one fine day in the afternoon, and you know what? He calls me into a cabin and he says, "Hey, we're cutting costs, we're optimizing costs. Unfortunately, you're fired." He was actually very nice. He didn't say you're fired, but he just said, unfortunately, we have to let go people, and he just handed me a letter, and then he said, "Okay, you got to be out of this company in the next 20 minutes. Please ensure you pack your stuff and please leave." Right. So I've been there, and then I think the number one thing for people is they shouldn't panic. Actually, just absolutely shouldn't panic, because the moment they panic, number one, they will not be able to have a free mind and a confident mind to apply for jobs. You'll end up becoming desperate and pick up a job which is, let's say, half of your worth, or whatever, 30-50% lesser than what you're already getting, right? Forget getting a hike. Second is, you have to spend a lot of time in introspecting. I think it's a great time to take some downtime. I understand everyone has their EMIs. Most of the times, I know most of the folks have EMIs. While you can avail the moratorium and then take some time, at least a week time, to think through whether what you've done is what you want to do now, what you want to do next, actually. I'm cutting the story short. I think, and if you're clear about what you're doing, I think it's very important to know that there are 1,000 other people are bidding for the same job. So how do you differentiate, right? You can't just go and apply for a job on a job portal or on a LinkedIn, because if you go to LinkedIn, you'll already see, another 1,250 people are already applied. There's no point in applying on LinkedIn. You can, you should, but if you think, how can you really stack up the rank, right? For example, I'll give you an example where most of the jobs I got till date, right? While it is a startup, I work with some of the high growth startups. I used to write to the CEO directly, right? I used to go to LinkedIn. Before that, I used to research a lot about the company. Then I used to put myself in that company's shoes and say, "Hey, these are the 5 things I can do for you. Your website sucks. Your LinkedIn, I don't know, God knows who is managing LinkedIn. I can come and fix it. And this is how I'll fix it, right? These are the 5 things I'll fix. This is what I'm going to write to the marketing head or the CEO. And most of them would accept the invite, and I would follow up, actually. I'll be persistent, saying, "I know you don't have a job opening. Give me half an hour where I will tell you how will I fix your website, or I'll give you 2 campaign ideas which you can run." Not a generic idea, but for you, actually. And again, Capillary also happened just like that, right? I used to be in touch with the CEO, and I used to write to him. I was quite persistent, and he said, "I know you are super keen about the company, and then why don't you come and pick up, one project?" So that was back in 2013, actually. So I think cutting the story short, you have to be aware that 1,000 other people could be bidding for the same job, or even more. You have to find innovative ways to cut that letter, be in top of the ranking, right? By doing right research, being very clear in communicating what you are really looking for. And finally, when you have your CV, don't send a CV just like that, right? Write a cover letter saying, same thing. This is what I am. This is my strengths are. I believe I can be valuable to a company, and by doing these 5 things, for example, right? And just a last example. So one of the jobs I got in my MBA, right, in ISP. So I used to write cover letters for every possible company I used to apply. I applied for about maybe 25 jobs in ISP, when there is recruitments happening. And that's how it happens, right? So day zero, all the big companies come in like McKinsey or Microsoft or Google. All the way from day zero, I didn't get placed for almost a week. So I would have applied for 25 jobs by then. I used to spend at least 1 hour for every company, research, write a cover letter for that company. And fortunately, the company where I got hired, the group CEO, he actually saw the letter. He didn't even read my resume, actually. He saw the letter and he called me for an interview. And he said, Ashwini, you're halfway through. I liked your approach. I liked your thought process. And, he said, halfway through. And, there are a few questions and then I was through. And then this is how you have to be innovative, right? I'll give you some examples which I've done, which is worked. And I would request people not to send resumes just like that, and the names would be like resume 1, resume 2. Add your name in the file name and do some of the ideas which I suggested. And, happy to listen, if in the comments when you post the video, if they've tried something which has worked.
Okay, so, and what is the best way to write a great cover letter?
Sure. It's all about them, right? It's all about the company. So talk about it. It all has to start saying, let's say you're talking about company A, you should say, okay, according to my understanding, company A is looking to grow by so many times, or possibly has a vision to really create a dent in this specific technology, and start with that, and then talk about what are the things which can be improved, right? Which can be improved, and you got to be very, very careful because people take it offensively. So you got to be very, very careful about the way you word it. All you can say is, these are the possible things you can do better. So rather than telling something is broken, talk about what are their objectives. Talk about what are the 5 things they can improve. Most importantly, talk about your experience and how you can do those few things which you suggested in a better way, and just end it there, right? And that's what companies are looking for.
Okay, that's great, sir. So, first of all, coming to the end part of this interview, one question that everybody is asking now is like, what do you see, when this COVID is going to end, and when the market is going to be back to normal? Because we are into marketing, so we have a little more knowledge because we do keep researching about a lot of things. So, any thoughts on that?
Sure, I think everyone has the same question, but I don't think anyone is correct, right? Because I don't think anyone is correct. Let me be honest, because the world hasn't seen a situation like this. Maybe we would have gone through similar situations like SARS, which fortunately ended within few parts of Southeast Asia. So my wife is a doctor, so she's a microbiologist. She does COVID testing, and she's going through some really tough times. I'm seeing it at least quite closer than most of the audience, right? So thanks to my wife. But so what I can possibly tell is 2 things might happen. So one is the virus would mutate and it would lose its character, where it would become like a general flu, where everyone would possibly one day or the other they would get COVID, and it not be as infectious as it is currently. And that's where I hope the world is heading towards. If you see the recovery rate, week on week, especially in the last few days, the recovery rates are way better compared to the first few weeks. So, and while I'm not an expert in this, my 2 cents on that is the virus would possibly mutate and it would become yet another common flu. So that's one thing which is likely to happen. And second is vaccination, right? Vaccination, I have read a bunch of interviews. It typically takes anywhere between 10 to 15 years for getting a vaccine which really works. And that too in the best case. SARS, which is in this SARS-2, I believe, so SARS-1 still don't have a vaccine. So for me, the option 1 is more likely, where most of us would get COVID. Let's be ready for that, and let's not panic. And hopefully, the virus will become less and less infectious, and hopefully, they don't have a post-COVID impact on lungs and some of that, right? And and I would also, I'm a big believer in the hope. I also hope that we get a vaccine very soon, and hopefully, I'll be proven wrong. Where people would possibly take few months to get a vaccine which really works.
That's great, sir. That's right, sir. So, sir, thank you for joining us here at Net Talk. It was a pleasure speaking to you. I hope that the detailing that we have gone through in this interview would help a lot of marketers who are struggling with their campaigns or struggling with the ideas as well, and also for folks who are looking to start it again in the marketing, and also for people who are looking to become a marketer, because it's not easy being what you are in your field. It takes a lot of efforts, but unfortunately, people are not working hard. They are more depressed now, and it really takes a beating when you really don't want to work hard to achieve your goals as well, right? So hopefully this interview makes a difference, because you were engineer by education but marketer by choice. So there was a lot of hard work that you must have done to be where you are right now as head of growth marketing at Tact.ai. I think people should know about it, and they are definitely going to look forward to this interview as well.
Sure, absolutely. So, wishing everyone the best. I think again, take a pause. Reboot yourself. Let's say, let's say you don't have a job now, or you're looking to get, let's say you have a pay cut, etc. Please don't feel bad. I think everyone goes through that negative cycle. Don't look at folks who are who are really in the positive end of the spectrum. Everyone is going through that. I also told my story actually. So take a pause, reboot yourself, and think deeply in terms of whatever you do. To think deeply in terms of whether is that what you want to do. If yes, then really go and become an expert in that, right? By having the appetite to fail, and then also constantly learn and ensure you're there, right? You're there in terms of the way you run a campaign, the way you segment an audience, or the way you write a letter for a new job. So think how differently you can make it happen actually, and then and always be curious and excited, right? Because not being curious, is you're dead. You are professionally, you're not going to be competent. Actually, you have to be curious. Most important, the last thing I want to say is spend at least an hour a day in learning something, right?
Yes.
Read and learn actually.
Yes.
Read and understand what others are doing. Learn and let's say new skill. Let's say you want to learn account-based marketing. Spend half an hour each day. Take up a course and learn. Most importantly, experiment and try and make it practical actually.
Okay, that sounds great, sir. So thank you for joining here at Net Talk. And we look forward to having more discussions with you in future as well, sir.
Sure. Thanks so much, Sachin, for the opportunity, and wishing all your audience the best.
Thanks. Take care. Well, so here I was with Mr. Ashwin Krishna Arya. Ashwin, I read a post about him on LinkedIn that's really moved me. That how he was bullied when he was a kid, and because of various reasons, and how he grew up to become director of marketing at a very large firm, and today head of growth marketing at a technology hub. That reminds me, of a lot of stories going back, of people that I've read or experienced a lot of things in the past. Your physical appearance, your financial conditions will never determine who you are going to be in future. If you are really looking to work hard, if you are really looking to move forward in life, if you're really looking to take up all the challenges, I think going back when Ashwin looks at most of his friends who were bullying him or who were slightly better than him, I think he's way ahead in comparison to them, and he is really living his life. He has also started his what do you call homestay company long back, while he was in college, and just finished off his first internship as well. So Ashwin sir, we are wishing you all the best. I hope you all do very best. We are always going to be there. And obviously, a lot of people are going to learn from this. They're going to implement this. They're going to be very, very successful after reading this journey that we have interviewed you with today. And thank you, folks. Thank you for joining at Net Talks. I'm slightly moved by stories, the backstory that we had over the phone. So my energy may not be up to that level. I'm so sorry for that. But thank you for joining here at Net Talk, and we will going to bring you more and more stories like this. Thank you.